Hello, I'm going to show you how to make felt mushrooms. This is a fun project and makes a great holiday gift. The supplies we'll be using are 2 colors of felt, sewing thread, embroidery floss, and either batting or fabric scraps for stuffing. The tools are scissors, needle, pins, a marker, and for this demo I'll be using a sewing machine, but this is such a small project that you could also easily sew it by hand. There's a free pattern that's available on my website. So start by downloading the pattern and cut out the pieces. I printed my pattern on cardstock, which makes it easier to trace. And then after you've traced your pieces onto the felt, go ahead and cut them out. You'll need 4 cap pieces in one color, and then 3 stems and a bottom in another color. To assemble, place 2 of the cap pieces together and start sewing along the longer edge of the triangle. We'll use a 1/8 inch seam allowance throughout this project. Go ahead and also assemble the stem pieces with the same 1/8 inch seam allowance. Open up the 2 cap pieces that you've got started and place them right sides together, matching the seam at the top. And start sewing. It helps to press the seams at the top open with your finger so that it's not quite as bulky. You might also lift up your presser foot and use your scissors to help ease that seam allowance in the right direction. And go ahead and finish assembling the stem by sewing the 3rd piece into place. Now that the cap is assembled, turn it right side out and press the 4 seam allowances open just at the bottom edge. You can use an iron, but I find finger pressing works pretty well and is quick and easy. Having these seam allowances open will make it easier and less bulky when we attach the bottom circle in a few minutes. Now we're ready for the fun part. We're going to add some French knot embroidery. So put 2 strands of embroidery floss on your needle, and coming up from the back side, draw the thread through, wrap the thread around your needle 3 times, and then take the top thread, cross it under, and then insert the needle near where your original hole came through. Hold that thread in place and pull slowly to complete the knot. So wrap the thread 3 or 4 times around your needle, take the top thread, cross it under, and reinsert your needle near the original hole. It helps to pull the thread through slowly so that you don't get any unexpected knots along the way. This is a really fun stitch once you get the hang of it. And you can continue until the top of your mushroom cap is covered with spots. Once the French knots are finished, we're going to add a loop as a hanger. I'm using some baker's twine, but you could also use a piece of embroidery floss. Put the twine or the floss onto your needle and insert it from the inside, and then back down through a little ways over from the original place. On the inside, tie the two ends into a knot, and then pull the loop through from the top, and you'll have a nice clean loop without any knots showing. Now we're ready to attach the bottom of the mushroom cap. I find that it helps to have guidelines marked in a crosshair. So fold it in half, mark two guidelines, two small dots in the creases, and then fold the other direction and mark dots at those creases. This will give us guidelines to line up with each of the four seams in the mushroom cap. So turn the cap inside out, and then we're going to pin the bottom in place from the inside edge, lining up those guidelines with each of the four seams. Once the bottom is pinned into place, we're ready to sew that edge. I find it's easiest to sew from the top, and starting from one of the four seams, work your way around, keeping those seam allowances open with a little help from your scissor tip as needed. For this, we're going to sew 3 of the 4 sections closed, but we want to leave the last section open so that we'll be able to turn the mushroom back right side out. So when you get to the last seam, back stitch, and make sure to leave one of the sections open. Turn the mushroom cap right side out, and we're ready to start adding the stuffing. Once the mushroom cap is nicely stuffed, I really like to pack it in as much as possible, and then fold the opening edge under 1/8 of an inch at the top and the bottom, and pin that opening closed. And go ahead and add stuffing to the stem piece as well. Packing it in with each little piece. Now we're going to sew the mushroom cap closed. So bringing your needle from inside the seam allowance to hide the knot, you're going to do a whip stitch, which really is just taking a little stitch through the bottom edge and then through the top edge, and then back down through the bottom edge and the top edge. And you might need to tuck those raw edges under just a little bit as you go. But once you get started, it comes together pretty easily. Next, we're going to sew the top of the stem closed. This will make it a little bit easier to attach in a minute. So, I need a bigger knot. So bring your needle back and forth from one side to the other of the opening, rotating as you go. And crossing the other direction. And as you pull the thread, you'll see how that gathers the top together. So now just make a knot to hold that in place. But you don't even need to clip your thread because we're about to use that same thread to attach the stem. So to start, just place it in the center of the bottom of the mushroom cap. And using that same kind of whip stitch, take a small stitch from the bottom into the side of the stem, and then back down through the bottom, through the side of the stem, and just continue working your way around until the whole stem is attached. Once you finish sewing around the stem, make a knot, and your mushroom is complete and ready to hang or give as a gift. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks to the Arrowhead Regional Arts Council for the grant that made this possible. Please follow me on social media. I'm at Doc5Duluth, and my website is doc-5.com. I'd love to see how your mushrooms turn out. Please send me some photos. Have fun.